Hi, everyone. I am LaurieAnn. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I am with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas, and we would like to welcome you to our Lift Your Story podcast.
So, this episode, we're very pleased to have Susan Elizabeth, and she's an authenticity coach. Just love that. So, we're going to learn more about that today. Thank you so much for being with us, Susan Elizabeth.
Thank you so
Yes,
much for having me. What a pleasure to be here.
great. Okay, so let's talk about authenticity coach. Tell
Yeah,
us what that is.
authenticity coach. I think it stems from the journey that I've been on, and I've worked in corporate for over 30 years for Fortune 500 companies and international corporations. And, my whole journey has been leading me up to this moment where I'm still in corporate, but I'm also now a life coach. And I really focus around helping women to really become, authentic and truly who they are, so they can really step into their own power and their own true self and lead from that place.
It's true. And I find that does happen, as we have discussed earlier, that when women try to take on too much, they lose themselves. And they're doing everything for everybody else. And then all of a sudden they look in the mirror and they don't know who they are. So this, I think, is very key to a lot of women out there who have gone through that.
Yeah, I know for me that being in my position that I was, it's highly demanding. And, my career was always really important to me. I wanted to go out into the world and I wanted to really contribute and create and add a lot of value and have that reward in return. And it's been a great journey, but with that, it brought me to the point of just exhaustion. And earlier in my career, years ago, I had the disease to please because I wanted to serve, I wanted to contribute, I wanted to create. And then as I move forward in my career over the decades, actually, I've also done what I've had to man up to be taken seriously, but it just robbed me of my pleasure and my time and my connection with who I am and my family and my friends.
So, in your 30-year experience in the corporate world, what has the transition been from women kind of in the background, so to speak, to where they are today in the workforce? What's your opinion?
I love that question because I've seen a lot of change over the more than 3 decades that I've been in corporate, big corporations. And I've seen a lot more women who are in the C-suite now. Still a long way to go. I see a lot more women in leadership and executive positions that I didn't see 30 years ago or even 35 years ago. And I know my experience has changed personally, with what used to be 35 years ago and what is today. And I think because we are all getting educated, we are all generation dependent. We just are showing up, and there's a lot more tools and a lot more resources available to anybody, especially women, to really invest in themselves in personal development and have the role models and mentors that maybe weren't there 35 years ago for women.
Right.
My wife worked for the government, and she was passed over a promotion one time, and my wife's very laid back, but she really felt like she deserved the promotion. She was better at the job, and all that. And so, and it really hit her hard when she got passed over. Well, then she thought about it, and like I say, she's pretty laid back, don't want to make waves. But she finally went down to the EEOC and said, "I want to file a complaint because I should have got that job." And so they weren't expecting that, and all of a sudden, she didn't get that job, but she got one that was equal or better,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and she stood up for herself, you
And
know, and from that point on, she advanced up, because she was good at what she did. But, had she not done that, she might have been a secretary her whole 38 years.
Yeah. And it is using your voice. It is standing up for yourself because, when you are out in the world, you can work hard, you can be yourself, you can really stand in your authenticity. But I also see, that fear sometimes of really taking a stand for yourself and really using your voice and standing who you are and coming from a place of, I am good enough. I am enough, because I see such an epidemic of enoughness out there. And good for her and yay for her for standing up saying, I am capable and qualified and this wasn't right. So I want something done about it.
I do like those campaigns of I am enough, but I kind of redid mine. I took one of the pictures and I said, I am more than just enough. I am more than just good enough. I'm more than that.
Yeah.
And I think I sometimes feel that as much as that's a good saying, because a lot of people, that's the first step towards it. But a lot of us are more than enough. And we don't see that. And I think that people have to go, oh, well, I'm enough. Well, enough is not good enough. As your best friend, and because I love you, I'm going to tell you, you're more than enough, and reach out for that more. So it's kind of settling. As far as I'm concerned, it's settling if you just say, I'm enough.
Yeah.
As far as Barbara goes, Roy's wife, obviously she was showing that she wasn't just enough. She was more than that. So that's my opinion on it. I think it's great, the campaigns, but that's my opinion is that it's more. You're more than that.
In my career in construction, it was male dominated industry. I mean, this is the way it was. However, I worked with women architects, women electrical engineers, women mechanical engineers, women project managers, and the ones I worked with were very capable. Matter of fact, some of them were better than some of the guys I had to deal with. But I mean, they're out there and they're proving themselves. They may be the only woman in the room, but by gosh, they're going to tell you what their deal is, and they're going to stand with it. You're not going to run over them because, oh, honey, I was in a meeting one time, and one of the guys says, oh, honey, you don't really know what you're doing, man. She said, don't call me honey. I'm not your honey. I'm an engineer. I'm a licensed, degreed engineer. So let me tell you how it's going to be.
That is awesome.
I mean,
that is awesome.
She threw it back on him. I mean, I kind of felt sorry for the guy. He had it coming. He deserved it. But I mean, that whole conference room just shut down. And when she got through, she said her piece, and then we went on. But man, I said, well, I'll never make that mistake.
Absolutely. And I bet everybody learned a quick lesson from that for the people in the room. And then back to her, she was using her voice and she was saying, you know what, don't treat me like that. You're going to respect me for who I am as an educated professional, and let's move forward.
Yeah. I mean, I would never call somebody honey.
Oh, no.
Some woman in the meeting, honey. I mean,
never mind, you wouldn't call a guy in the meeting that, Roy. You wouldn't say, hey, honey, to a guy. So why would, in a business situation, that's the point, right?
Absolutely.
It's very disrespectful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely.
At least he didn't call her doll, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that happens so fast, and you're sitting there, and of course you're uncomfortable because of what's happening, but at the same time, I'm thinking, buddy, you got exactly what you deserved.
So it's creating awareness. Yeah.
So Susan Elizabeth, so what kind of approach do you take to help these women to achieve that authenticity, once it's buried, because it does get buried, it's sometimes hard to, resurface it.
I love talking about that, because there are some things that people can do to come back to yourself and have that true approach to life in being authentic in who you are. And I think the first thing is to really come back to yourself and really know yourself and really understand who you are. And that just takes personal development. It takes awareness. Sometimes we need a life coach. I know I've had a life coach for years, and which inspired me to become a life coach because I know the power of that. So it's really getting that support system and investing in yourself and your personal development. And then, going through that process, it can be hard and it can take time, and that's okay. It's just a process. And then another thing would be really having that red velvet rope policy around yourself, having those strong boundaries for how you want to be treated and how you want to show up. And you get to choose how you show up in this life. You get to choose who you want to be, and you can be anything. And, from there, really choosing thoughts that serve you as well. I've witnessed in my coaching, and out in my career in the professional corporate world, people choose thoughts that just don't serve them, and it's like, how is that serving you? Really managing what I call being the CEO of your mind, and choosing thoughts that are going to serve you to move you forward towards your dreams, your goals, your vision for who you want to be, how you want to show up, and how you want to do life.
I would imagine too, part of that too, what you do see a lot, and I'm guilty of it sometimes. And I don't know if it's how you're brought up or whatever, but just quickly, at one point, I told my mother, I said, I love myself. She goes, I wish I did. Interesting. And yeah, but then I noticed too, though, is that I sometimes have toxic language to myself. So drop something and go, oh my goodness, stop being clumsy. And you actually will say it out loud to yourself, something that might have been said to you as a child. But you got to get rid of that, because it's not that I'm clumsy. Oh my goodness. So I dropped a cup of milk 5 times a day. I'm kidding. No, but you know what I'm saying. And in fact, the other day I said, oh geez, that was stupid, LaurieAnn, like literally said that. And then I have to correct myself and say, don't you ever call yourself that. You're not stupid. And but you see that constantly. And I think that is not your authentic self. And I'm sure that you would be dealing with that, Susan Elizabeth. It's something that has been sort of maybe ingrained from someone else in your life. And you have to remove those.
And that is the things that I see that can be passed down from generation to generation, especially in maybe families, and it's been out there in the culture at times as well, where maybe certain people aren't valued as much as others. But I think in the coaching, people will show up and they'll have shame. They'll have, the I'm not good enough, enoughness, the self-worth, the self-abandonment. And, I've had a lot of that. But it's something that, when you start becoming aware of how you're showing up and how you really want to be and what brings you joy and what brings you pleasure, you can then make new choices and you can choose new thoughts and new ways to be. So that way you can show up in life and really live the life that you were meant to live and how you want to live it.
It's lovely.
So I would think that if someone just starting their career, okay, if they could get that coaching when they first start, they would be so many light years ahead instead of waiting until, well, my kids are grown now, I'm going to start trying to move up the ladder, that type of situation, because you spent 20 years at your job and maybe not got very far in it. And then all of a sudden now you want that push, where had you got that early on, that 20 years would have been totally different.
Oh, completely different. And I think it starts with a choice that I am worth the investment in myself to go out and get that guidance, to get that help, to be coached. And when you look at athletes, it's normal for an athlete to have a coach, especially if it's their profession. So why wouldn't we have some type of coaching or some type of, support system there to help us be the best self that we can be? And that's coaching, there's mentoring, there's support systems, there's all types of things out there available to people now. And especially when you're starting out, to really bring that awareness, but then also I am worth the investment in myself now, and stop putting everybody else first. Put yourself first, because the better you are, the better you can show up for everybody else. And so many people don't understand that.
Yeah, I know they see
makes
it as
perfect
something.
sense.
Yes. I was gonna say everybody else will say, oh, well, you're being selfish. No, actually I'm being selfless, because the happier I am with myself, the better I will be with you. So I always say that. So people will call me selfish. What? Well, I'm fine with that, but I'm actually not, because I'm better when I'm better to myself. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I like
Something to me that's interesting. When my oldest son is an electrical engineer, and when he was going through college, every year they had people from the industry come out and speak to him. Well, I'm this at this company, we do this, and do you realize that in your career, the way technology is changing so fast, you're going to have to probably retrain 10 times in your career,
Yeah.
due to technology.
Yep.
But so thinking about what you said, to me, I think would be interesting is if coaches went to college campuses and said, look, guys, here's what you really need to do. Because I don't think they're aware of that. I really don't think, to be able to get somebody and say, look, you're going to graduate, you're going to get a job, but you get some coaching and I can help you make that career better and faster. To me, that colleges will be an outstanding, to me, resource for people, because they don't think about it.
No, they don't. In college, it really is about expanding your horizons. It's about getting the education, expanding your horizons. And so many things are taught in college, but also so many things are not taught, like the things about that, that development of yourself as a business person, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're working for a small company or a large company. Where is that taught? And if it is taught, how much is it really taught? And then to make people aware of the resources that are out in the world. And some people are curious and they're naturally going to research it and come across it. And then some people are just not aware, and they're just not going to be aware of it for potentially a long time, if ever.
Well, a lot of thing too is I had to say this. I'm doing a bit of an extremist here, but when you're in college, it's almost like living in Disneyland. And then you walk out there, and I do say, and I know that they call it that. There's the Disneyland syndrome, or the Disney syndrome, where you're going to go out, you're going to do really well, and you're going to meet your prince or your princess, and you're going to live happily ever after. And you really don't know the scope of it. I hate to say it, but my first 2 jobs, I was sexually harassed at them, and I didn't know how to deal with it, because I need the money, I need to work, and that's my boss. And then I moved to the next one. It happened again. By the third one, I could voice it, but I didn't have someone there to coach me through it. But by the third one, I just said, hey, he goes, do you want to go for lunch? I said, I'll go for lunch and chat about business, but if you think you're going anywhere else with me right now, I said, you may as well just fire me. And I just said that. And I was strong enough by the third time, but they don't teach us that. My Disney world of going out there, getting a great job, completely crashed. I'm going, they never taught me this. My daughter went through it too,
Yeah. And it's out there. And it is, and a lot of people learn through going through the experience. And, you learn pretty quickly when you go through experiences like that. And so it's really just, again, making the awareness and just getting the word out. Because 20 years ago, you didn't really hear about life coaching. You started hearing about it maybe 10, 15 years ago, and now you do hear about it. But still, there's a lot of education that still needs to occur, for not just, learning the, like an engineering way, or learning, your craft. It's learning how to be as well as learning your craft.
Absolutely.
Of course, when we got out of high school, it was the height of the Vietnam War.
Oh yeah.
And a friend of mine went to college, graduated. He graduated, got an American history degree, not to teach, but just to, you might as well got basket weaving for. But anyway, but back then, if you had a college degree, you had a head start on jobs because
Yes.
that was a weeding process. You
Yeah.
know, high school degree. It could be in anything. You had a degree, so you would get the job. But it took him 6 months to find a job, and he went down to it's like the ABC here in Dallas, and he walks in as the guy says, "Okay, why should I hire you?" He goes, "Well, I have a college degree." He says, "Yeah, so those other 5,000 people behind you."
Uh-huh.
And he said, now why should I hire you? He goes, he didn't know, he didn't get the job. And, but it's just that perception, just like you said, LaurieAnn, I got a college degree.
Yeah.
I'm worth 100 grand.
Yeah.
When do I start?
And in a way too, in all fairness, it's kind of sad, but parents tend to do that though. When you take once you get your university degree, you'll get out there and they almost make it sound like you will be guaranteed a job. And it is not so. I mean, like I said, my daughter is 30 years younger than me, and she's still going through the same thing. It isn't so. And I didn't let her think that. I said, just because you've got a degree, don't. I was being honest with her. Tell your children it's not fair out there. Tell them they're going to have to work hard. Don't give them the Disney story.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And it is about, getting back to the authenticity, because what's going to set you apart? And there's only one me in this lifetime. There's only one you in this lifetime. So really knowing yourself, yes, get the education, do the things, invest in yourself, but also invest in yourself to really know you and your qualities. So that way, when you do show up for a job interview, when you do write that resume, when you do write that cover letter, when you do make that phone call, when you do whatever that is you do, that you are so standing out in who you are that people will really see that. And that is like a magnet. It will completely, you'll connect with people when you can really be who you are.
When
I
you're
agree.
when you're authentic, not arrogant.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And you can smell it when somebody's arrogant or when somebody's authentic. Oh, you can smell it.
I love that. You can smell it. You don't just feel it. You can smell it.
Well, I mean, no, that's so true. I mean, when you start talking to people, you're interviewing people for a job. I mean, you can tell right away. I mean,
Oh.
it's obvious. It's obvious.
Yep.
It
is.
Or it was, in my experience, it was.
Yeah.
I could tell somebody, well, interview some 30-year-old. Oh yeah, I know this. I know all. Okay, well, I'm 50. I don't know it all.
Yep.
So I guess you're overqualified for what I need.
Yep.
That is true.
Because nobody
It
knows
does.
it all. People think they do.
There's a lot of people who do. Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna say too, when you're authentic, it really does come from the heart, and that's where you can say, and you can really feel it. The other people can feel it. They can. I don't know if they can smell your authenticity too, but what do they say too?
That's authenticity.
They do tell you to think with your head, and definitely you should do that. But there's certain things instinctual come from the heart, and instinctively, if you're totally authentic, they're gonna feel it. They're gonna know it. And I think that that's a wonderful thing that you teach people to do. And you're absolutely right. Go in there and be confident because you are authentic. People who tell lies, it's awful because they never remember the lie that they're saying. When you're in there and you're being authentic and you're being yourself, people pick up on that. They really do.
Absolutely.
And plus, you're able to be vulnerable when you're authentic.
Totally. And that is such a strength. And I love vulnerability because I know for me, I mean, even 10 years ago, it was excruciating to be vulnerable. There was no way I was going to open up and be vulnerable. And boy, what a journey. I think, really learning that vulnerability is such a beautiful, honest, authentic place to come from, because I used to think vulnerability was a weakness. You'll get killed if you're vulnerable. And it is so not. When you can open, stand in yourself, feel your feelings fully, understand your thoughts, know who you are, and open up, that is when people are allowed to then connect into you. and understand and see you. And when people get to know you, they want to support you. When people don't know you, that's when they're gonna, not support you as much. And so really opening to that place of being authentically vulnerable is so powerful. I had no idea that that lesson was going to show up in my lifetime, but boy, did it sure show up in this lifetime. I get that one now.
That's actually interesting you say they see you, because there was one thing that my daughter taught me about 3 years ago. She said, there's something to love somebody. There's something to see somebody. And she goes, Mom, I see you. And I love that. And of course, that came from the movie, The Avatars. Haha, don't laugh, Roy. But there was a show called The Avatars. But there was a scene in it, and there's a song, and the theme song is very clear. And it's about seeing other people, not just, which goes beyond
Yeah.
just knowing them. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And when somebody,
Yeah.
if somebody comes to you and they're gonna open up to you and share with you, like, I'm struggling right now. I have these deadlines and I have this stuff going on in my life where I'm struggling with this. You are, just think of you, whether you're their boss or whether you're their coworker or your child, you are it's the human being part of us that's going to open up to them and have empathy and concern and caring for that other person. And that other person is sticking their neck out, being vulnerable. And you're not going to go squash them or shame them, so really we think it's so painful to open up and be vulnerable. And it is hard until you start learning to do that. And then, when you can do that, it becomes so much easier. But on the other end, there isn't anybody out there, when you open and become vulnerable, there isn't anybody that I've had the experience with that has done anything negative or bad to me when I've opened up about how I feel, what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing, and sharing. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, because you're off the side, you're seeing somebody and you have this perception of them.
Yeah.
Right? You may think they're cold-hearted, whatever. And then all of a sudden they come to you, and I mean, your whole feeling changes. And, it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. How can I help you?
Exactly.
And you're just like, wow, I had no idea, and so, yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. But it's hard for people to do.
It is, because we're not used to doing it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's funny, when I coach, I love to, give some of my clients homework. And some of the homework I've given was for them to go out and practice being vulnerable and sharing and opening from a heartfelt place about whatever it is going through, and then come back and tell me about that experience, the next time we coach, either a week later or 2 weeks later. And they come back and they go, it wasn't hard. It was all in my mind. It was a mindset thing. And when I actually shared, it was actually easy to share. And now I got so much support. I was surprised. And I'm like, see, now you have evidence to what, is now going to shine a light on something that you had built up in your own mind that really isn't true. So it's beautiful to witness people go through their own journeys and their own personal development path.
Yeah.
I just have to say one thing though. I mean, as far as being vulnerable, and I do agree, it is good to do, but I also do tend to put out the word, you do have to sometimes watch who you're vulnerable with. You've been very lucky that it hasn't come back to you. I had an incident where it did, and it was life-changing for me. But the people around me, the people that I know I can trust, absolutely. And there's certain things, definitely I'm vulnerable with other people I don't know very well, but I think that there is a certain level to which that vulnerability should be very kept in your circle versus outside of it, because yes, it can come back and kick you in the butt. So you have to be able to, and I'm sure that you would coach that as well, Susan Elizabeth, is what are those boundaries?
Yes.
There definitely has to be certain boundaries on that vulnerability side. Yeah.
There are. And it's discernment, and you have to have the discernment, because, you don't want to then go out the next day and just tell everybody your most personal things. You do have to have that discernment, and that's where you really have to use and trust yourself. about, okay, I can trust this person, or I think I can trust this person. I'm going to go there and share this with them. And other people, they quite frankly, don't deserve or earn that trust, and they don't get to get in and have that vulnerability. I know who to avoid. I know who to share with, and I know how to discern.
Yeah, that's perfect.
It's interesting because my son's best friend passed away, and at his funeral, my son spoke, and he said something, and he says, well, Michael, he was the kind of guy that you could always go to and talk to. He would always listen to you. He was always there for you. And he never, anything you talked about, he never told anybody, and he never used it against you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. I mean, that really struck me, when he said, and he never would use it against you.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Because I've seen that happen.
Yeah. What a great person.
Use something against you. Yeah. So, but anyway, I thought that was authentic. I thought
Truly.
so.
Truly. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Susan Elizabeth, we want to find out just a couple of things. Number one, where people can find you, and also a little bit about your book as we wrap up here.
Oh, thank you for asking. For the listeners today, they can find me at susanelizabethcoaching.com, and I have a free ebook for them. If they sign up on my website, they can download it right away, called The Secrets of Truly Powerful Women. But I also have a book coming out next year where I'm co-authoring with a group of women about Women Who Boss Up. That's the title of it. It's called Women Who Boss Up, Health, Wellness, and Lifestyle. And that's going to be available next year. We're so excited because it's really about us telling and sharing our stories about how we boss up. And this particular one is around health, wellness, and lifestyle. And so I think the lifestyle and health part of it, for me, the approach I'm taking is it's really around your mindset for living a well-lived life and really managing your mind and your life and, holistically as yourself.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you so
Perfect.
much. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes. Thank you.
Roy,
so
do you have
much.
any more questions?
No, but other than maybe we're going to come back to you maybe 6 months or so. Will your book be out by then?
I would love to be back on your show. Thank you. Yeah, we'll stay in touch. And, thank you so much for having me on today. It was really a pleasure. And thank you for allowing me to share my journey as well with your listeners.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being here. We really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Roy.
Okay.
Take
We
care.
will see you again.
Absolutely.